Okay, I think we can slowly start with the demonstration of the pull requests. And are there any volunteers to be the first? The bravest?
I can be the first.
Okay, go ahead. Yaroslav.
Yeah, I was trying to configure my local environment because after the recent upgrade, there were some issues, but I hope everything will go smooth. I'll share my screen. Please let me know if you see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great. So the story was about showing the authentication error message inside of the Adobe Stock Integration grid, inside of the gallery grid. So previously, in case of the authentication error, we have this message, but we didn't have the grid. So the idea was to show this grid, this message inside of the grid, and to introduce some flow for pushing messages from backend to this grid in order to show them in case of different error scenarios. And after the implementation, if we have incorrect credentials configured in admin panel, if we try to search Adobe Stock, we will have the error message inside of the grid. So as you can see, even in case of the error, you see the grid, you see how the grid looks like. And as I said, we provided the flow, which allows us to show other messages inside of the grid as well. So that's basically it. If you have any question, please ask.
Thank you. That looks perfect.
Okay.
And works perfect, at least for my tests. And yeah, this useful addition will be able to handle errors in future much more, like in a proper way. For example, loading the next page, we can show the error in the grid instead of removing the grid and showing the blank page. That's really a step forward towards user experience from my point of view. Oh, great. Who's next? Any volunteers?
I can start maybe.
Okay. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay,
That's a major update for today,
right? Yes, maybe. Okay, so the previous week was full of really interesting and constructive stuff. And I would like just to start talk about the first one. So we have been working together with Sergey on this one. I mean, just remove database records when image is deleted from the media gallery. So this is a major update for our future media gallery module. So I introduced several new commands. So it's just delete bypass, which allow us to delete media gallery assets from the database. And also it was just like get by ID commands and so. But maybe the main core feature of this is that we follow the new approach. So we use commands and make our implementation more granulated, which allow us to have more control, structure, and reliable application. So it was really exciting work. And we also fixed a lot of static tests because just our Adobe Stock integration already connected to the Magento test infrastructure. We have a whole picture of test, and we fix it a lot. Next, I just worked on refactoring. I granulated storage actions into separate actions. Previously, we had one class which was responsible for several actions, but we make it more powerful with this granulation. Yes, and all this stuff was just for one thing. We prepared updated media gallery module, and a day ago, Sergey opened the pull request to the Magento. Ta-da! So it's our, as I understood, the first one. And I would like to say thank you for all of us guys. It was really amazing to work on this application. And I think that, Sergey, can you please describe this thing, beautiful thing?
Media gallery modules, you mean?
Yes, this pull request and how it looks at this moment, and what we will do next.
Yeah, so basically that's the same Adobe Media Gallery and Adobe Media Gallery API modules that we've seen before, but we changed the namespace and are trying to deliver those modules to Magento mainly to be able to associate attributes for these images in Media Gallery in Magento Core so that we can improve Magento Media Gallery and enhance Magento Media Gallery UI in future. In actually not in so distant future. We are planning to do it in the next milestone, right after stabilization of this one. So we actually do have two pull requests open to Magento. There is a masonry and grid components that delivery to Magento 2. So we are delivering the content of Adobe UI module that is currently in the Adobe Stock Integration. We created Adobe UI module specifically to extract the common components for Magento Core. So it contains only 4 components and 4 templates for these components. It's image preview. That is the basic image preview without any actions related images and stuff like that. Just an image and navigation buttons forward, backwards. Then image column that is required by masonry grid, overlay column that can be used to put labels over images, and for sure the listing implementation itself. So we went through the code review. In Magento repository, there were lots of comments from the architects, and we have adjusted everything. So looks to be looking to merge this pull request soon. As for the Media Gallery, so Media Gallery pull request to Magento 2 contains the Media Gallery and Media Gallery API modules. That's basically, as I said, that's just the attributes for images and some interfaces for managing of those attributes. This pull request is adding 3 new tables to database of Magento 2. That's why it's backward incompatible actually. But we actually we don't think that this is a critical incompatibility, the adding of the such general tables, and I think it's worth to mention it in the release notes and add it to the current release. So I think we are now in the process of trying to approve those minor changes. That's it for the delivery to Magento. that we are working on right now.
So
yes.
will that move the code out of the stock integration and just move it into the Magento core, or will it exist in both places?
Yeah. So after it will be merged to Magento core, we'll remove that part, those parts from Adobe Stock Integration, and it will exist only in Magento.
Yeah, makes sense.
In Magento core. Yeah. So, thanks, Alex, by the way. So the media gallery models that we actually move into Magento were developed almost completely by Alex, apart from some unit test coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, who would like to go next?
I can, if you want.
I can give
Go.
my. Oh, okay, Gareth.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gareth, first.
I should be nice and snappy anyway. So let's okay, so can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Right, it's the first time using this, so how it worked. Okay, so I have so this that's the wrong tab. Right, it's this one here. So I've added an MFTF test to cover the scenario where a user searches for images with the same model as the currently viewed one. So if I'll show you the XML for the test. So there's this new, well, snappily named test here. And that's some actions done before the start of it. So you log in, set up the integration, and then the actual sort of the core of the test is down here. So what it's looking for is to make sure, first of all, the grid is actually not filtered at all. Then it expands the image preview so that you've effectively clicked on an image. Then it just grabs the file number from the grid, and then mimics a click on the morphiness model and the see more button. So what I'll do is I'll show you this in a sec, show you in action. And then what we're actually then testing for is we wait for the grid to reload, and we want to make sure that the applied filter actually has the values. So the file ID that we grabbed here is actually now the filter for the model ID. We make sure that this is another one that was I didn't check, which we make sure that effectively the number has changed from the default amount to the filtered amount. So here's a test I ran earlier. You can see it was successful. See my console there. And I'll get it running. We'll see how successful this is. It does take about 5 minutes on my computer, so we don't have to wait the whole duration. But when it does get going, you'll see it sort of running through the process. So
does it take whole 5 minutes from the beginning to the end of the test?
It does on my computer, but I'm running a 2011 MacBook Pro, so it's not a surprise. So one bit of, well, I'm just sort of sitting here waiting. There's one other. So this new file was added, but also there's in the MFTF you have this concept of sections. So under that, I've added the selector for the see more buttons under the model tab there, and that's what's used within the test to make sure that the click action works. So it's used there. So Chrome has opened up. I'm using Selenium locally with the Chrome driver. It first does this step to configure to make sure that actually linked up to the test account. Then log in again. Goes into a standard place, which is under adding a new page. Yeah. So at this point, it's a bit of a catcher in some of these tests, and it's effectively waiting for a page to load. So it's just obviously must be run on slower systems at some point. It's not too bad.
Yeah, actually, I've seen these delays as well. Like when it comes to slide out panels, wait for a page to load. Like wait for a page to load is actually waiting too much. I think that it waits until the timeout actually specified. For
I think it's like 30. Yeah, it's normally about 30 seconds, isn't it? So you see, oh sorry. Yeah, at the top here you can see it's got a model ID now. So we've clicked on this first image. We click the see more from this model. So now there's a model ID there. At this point, it does start to slow. The test does take a little while to carry on from this point. So happy to wrap it up at this point if you want. Because all it does now is it actually resets the filter. This is another sort of standard feature. Some of the tests is that the ramp down part is resetting the filter back to normal so that any future tests running the same run have a default filter. So all it's going to do now is reset the filter and log out, and that's the part of the test. But you can see that the model ID is selected correctly, and that's the test really.
Okay, and in the console right now, it's waiting for a page to load, right?
Yeah, waiting for page load 30. Yeah. I mean, is that I suppose I'm relatively new to MFTF. Is that a standard thing, or can that be improved slightly? Or is there a better way to wait?
To be honest, I'm not expert in MFTF as well. However, like theoretically, actually, we are not changing the page at that place. We are just working with more slide out panels. That's why I think that maybe we can try to go without wait for page to load. If it's possible. I'm not sure. Like Phil, I know he started working with MFTF really closely. And
what if we try for wait for element to be visible or something similar like that instead of page load?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's just worth it. I actually had a change. I introduced a change recently where, at least on the media gallery page, before you go to the Adobe Stock search grid, there, at least on my local instance, I had to introduce an additional wait for page to load, as the media gallery, perhaps it's only on my instance, but the media gallery seems to load twice. So once for the media gallery UI to load, and then once that loads, then the loading modal triggers again, and your images that you've saved to your media gallery load the second time. So I needed to introduce an additional wait to get the test passing locally. But it's interesting actually seeing this test run on your instance, Gareth, because your tests seem to wait in completely different areas compared to mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like my the teardown part of the tests when I run it on my machine of like resetting the filters is super snappy. But waiting for the media gallery to load takes like it's a 5 to 10 second delay to actually load up the Adobe Stock. So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, see, for me, it seems it gets through the sort of meat of the test, and then it's the ramp down part that takes a while. You've got 3 consecutive almost.
Yeah, same here. The resetting of the admin grid, that filters part, takes time for me as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There we go. Finished. Took 5.69 minutes.
Whoa. It's funny because I was running your test when I was evaluating your pull request, and I think it took 40 seconds to run on my machine.
It took how long, sorry?
Sorry, I was just saying when I was evaluating your pull request and verifying that your test works, I was testing it locally on my machine, and I think your test took about 40 seconds to run.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This, I suppose the caveat here is I've got quite an old computer as well. So.
Are you using Chrome driver as well, Filma?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm using a Selenium jar that then I think communicates with Chrome driver into the hood in some manner. Whatever the getting started guide for MFTF.
Okay. Same here, but I'm not sure what's causing the discrepancy in the loading times for each instance.
Yeah, it's weird. I think you have a really good suggestion about we could maybe specify to a higher degree what elements to look for to figure out whether the page is loaded or not.
Yeah, I think probably where possible we have to, and where it is actually logical, we have to replace wait for page to load with wait for element, because wait for page to load looks like sometimes it catches the reloading of whatever we are waiting for, and sometimes it just misses it, and then it waits 30 seconds or 10 seconds, depending on specific configuration, until the timeout, and then continues the test. That is why tests on some environment take really long time to pass.
Sergey, I believe you can create an issue for this matter, so I can review the test performance. Maybe I will have some suggestions how to speed up them, because it's really hard to say right now what is the reason of slowness, but I was working on performance optimizations of MFTF tests on some projects, so maybe I will have some suggestions for this case.
Oh, that's great. That will be really helpful. Thanks, Yaroslav. I'll create a ticket and I'll drop it in Slack. Then.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Gareth. Nice test. And yeah, as you can see, it's triggered, so selective discussion. Okay, let's go further. Who's next?
Can I show my pull request?
Yes, please, Shankar. Go ahead.
Otherwise. Yeah, thanks. I will share my screen right now. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I begin with the PR, license overlay label styling to match mockup, which we have started almost about 12 days ago, which is very complex because as we first did this using the JS, but as per Sergey's comment, we need to do this using a CSS. So it takes really complex to do this with the CSS. But as we have achieved this with CSS, but we still have the problem with the label. So I can demonstrate the license label right now. It looks much better, but not bad as in the previous demo in my PR. As you can see, the license labels are correctly in the spot, but still we have an issue with the height, as you can see here. The distance between this is different because we have added as a pixel. So I think Sergi has created the ticket to fix this issue. Is this correct, Sergi?
Yes. I think Adarsh assigned himself to that ticket and is going to fix it, right?
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
I'm
great.
working on it. Yep.
Okay, great.
I have
Okay,
a question.
great. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Christopher from Stock. Is this a separate request? Because I noticed the thumbnails were there, and then the license labels showed up afterwards. Are there two requests being made here, or is it?
Yes. It's another request. No, it's another request. I just working on it. I really want to show the demo. It's a license overlay label are not updated when this. I'm working on it, but I think I created the feedback changes. I just committed the feedback changes. I think just there is only one feedback that I just implemented in the Adobe IMS sign-in module, IMS module, but as it's a part of Adobe Stock Admin UI, so we have so I have moved to Adobe Stock Admin UI as I created a commit, but I think Sergi needs to review the code. So after he reviews the code,
I think in terms of requests to Adobe Stock API, it's only one request.
Okay. So I just made another commit to move the code from Adobe IMS to Adobe Stock Image Admin UI.
Oh, nice. It's a second task. I see.
Yeah, I was talking about a HTTP.
Yeah. It's a second.
Not code pulls.
Yeah, it's
the reason I ask is because a partner commented on that if you request the license state, it takes a lot longer to get back the results, and they were complaining about that, and I was wondering if you guys are running into the same thing.
We noticed that as well. Yeah, but we were not sure what is. We were thinking that it's general network latency.
It's just a heavier request because it has to go back to IMS and check your ownership of all these assets. And I think some other customers might have implemented it where they do it as a separate request. So they load the thumbnails and then afterwards they do a lazy request to get the license status. But that, it's a lot heavier to do that implementation wise. Anyway, I was just curious. Thank you. That's good though.
Yeah. Thank you for clarification, Christopher, and for suggestion. I think that is very good suggestion in terms of performance improvement for Magento admins.
Okay, so should I continue with my another small PR?
Yes. Shankar, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I've created another PR for locate button is shifted to the right for the license image, which Sergi has found while demoing pull request in the previous meeting. As here is currently the locate has some margin left, had some margin left, which we have fixed right now, as you can see. And we also prevented, as Sergi commented here, that after 5.5 task, which allows the save or download already licensed image to media gallery, will allows only one primary button just to save. So we have that we have also make sure that it doesn't broke if this PR is merged. That's here, as you see, the is aligned to the title.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Actually, I want
okay,
to
Sajid.
update. Yeah, go ahead.
Sajid, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question regarding this regarding some user experience. As currently, as you can see, that this is a big thumbnail image, but the same is appear here. If you click on this, it nothing appears. And if you click on this, then it changes. Then it's come back to the here. So can we remove this? So user have one more option to see the more from this series. As you can see, the currently stock.adobe.com, as they have implemented different images from this series. As you can see, there is on one more options user to can see this from the series. Currently, we have the same image which is visible over more from the series. So can we remove this and show that a user has one more option for the image? But if this is the issue or we need to fix this, so where should we create a pull request? It's in the Magento or the Adobe SDK. Here they have seems to fix this issue, like here doesn't have the same image in more from this series. So can you able to answer this?
Yeah, let's actually. So the first question is if you're looking for a series of images and the ID, for example, series of images for ID1, should the image with ID1 be present in results of series? Well, theoretically, it's the same series from the same series, or if it's so it should be in the collection in the same series, right? Logically.
Yes. Yes.
That's why probably that's not an issue of SDK. And what we can do in this case, we are requesting the series, and we also can we provide a filter to the API saying not an ID. So all images from series, but not that particular ID of the image that we are displaying.
Yeah, we can do that. So it's really an issue. I just thought that, and I'm not sure that it's an issue, or so I didn't start working on this yet.
Well,
I think it's better to not to display
Just
the
Christopher,
additional image.
I'm looking at a stock for the same content. It appears that stock hides the first one. I mean, I'm guessing I haven't used this API much, but I'm guessing that the first image that comes back may be the same ID. And on the stock website, it looks like they hide that unless you go to see more. And then I'm guessing then you can see everything. But yeah, it looks like they hide the first one. So I guess you could add a little logic there to say, you know, if any of the items or first item anyway matches the current ID.
Yeah, we can do that. Just it doesn't show the in the series collection.
Okay. I actually had an impression that sometimes it's not the first item.
I don't know. I'd have to look at.
Yeah, but looks like now I'm testing and I see that it's always the first one. So yeah, maybe removing the first one.
It's on.
Okay, thanks for pointing this out, Shankar. And yeah, feel free to fix it by removing the first item if it will work, or if it's not.
I'm curious.
If
what
it's not always
say
the case.
More from this model. I would think that would only show up if there's a model release, unless the Grim Reaper actually signed a model release.
Yeah, you will know who was the model for for that model.
Sure, I will create a PR for this issue, that by removing the first image from the mode from series and mode from this model.
Okay, thank you.
And also I have created a PR in the Magento repository for the issue pressing escape key. Pressing escape key confirm the save and license pop-up. As we are trying to escape, like we save and press the escape, it tries to save. So I just found out that it is an issue in the Magento repo. So I have created the PR in the Magento repository, and I have fixed it. Because just need to review and merge to the Magento. So we will fix this issue. I have just fixed over here. I found this issue in the Magento when we try to create a new folder from the list. Let me show. As we are trying to create a new folder, here I have fixed this issue. Let's press the escape, it closes. But if I try to do this in Adobe Stock, as it's tried to save, as it's created the test instead of escape, if I create a test 1, 2, 3 and press the escape.
So all the
Still try to create
dialogues on Magento will proceed if you press escape key. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I see.
So I found the issue in the Magento repo. So I have created a PR over there. So can you please review and let me know if you have any feedback, so I can work on it and fix this issue?
Yeah, sure. I would like someone else in Magento repo to take a look at this pull request, so I will try to arrange it to be reviewed as soon as possible. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Shankar. So many pairs.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah.
Hi, can I go next?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. So yep, let me just share my screen. Just a second. Are you guys seeing it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go ahead. There are a bunch of PRs and a few doubts I have. So one of my PRs were, if the user has enough credits, then the confirmation modal has an input field to save the file name. And if the user does not have enough credits, then there's no point of the field name, the input field name, because he cannot save the image. He needs to buy the credits. So that's one of my PRs. And another one was a unit test for Magento Adobe Media Gallery model asset command save. So that's pretty much just the code. And another one, which is yet to be merged but completed, is an MFTF test for testing if the user can locate a preview saved and a licensed image. So that I just finished testing, and yep, it passed here. Again, it takes a lot of time, so I guess I'll skip that. But yep, and just a second. Yeah, another PR was to sanitize the file names to exclude special characters. So it'll accept, it'll accept only alphanumerics, dashes, and underscores. And if there are two dashes which have been replaced, then it'll get replaced with 1 dash. So I have fixed that too. And yep, that's pretty much it. And a bunch of MFTF tests too. So what my doubts are is that one of the doubts, for example, in the after section of the MFTF test, these are relative to where the screen is at the end of the test. So I'm wondering if they should be stateless, just like admin logout is. So this will fail, this after action will fail if my test stops somewhere in the middle. So I'm wondering where to put this, whether to, just include it here at the end of the test, because this should be executed only if this executes. So do you guys have any suggestions as to how to make this stateless? Again, this action group can execute only if I'm in the Adobe Stock Grid page and not if I'm in the Media Gallery page. So any idea on how I would solve that?
So from my point of view, the most stable approach will be just start from opening a page. Because whenever you are and whenever the test have finished, opening the page will set the specific state that you can base on and move and do following steps, right?
Yes.
So
okay.
For example, in this case, you're assuming that you are on the grid.
Yep.
To let
But
out.
this one actually ends
after.
with this one ends in the Media Gallery page. So what I actually do is to go back to the Adobe Stock panel and then to press logout. But then if my test fails, for example, at the locate image or even in the grid itself, then I'm already in the Adobe Stock panel. So this test will fail in the after.
Mm-hmm.
So I will need to make this stateless, this Adobe logout part for pretty much every MFTF test, I guess. Just like admin logout is stateless. It goes to the admin logout URL and the home page and then clicks the logout. So I guess we would need to make this stateless as well.
Couldn't we open the media gallery and then open the stock panel and then, so if you're already in the stock panel, you would go back to say content, pages, add new page, insert image,
Right,
search Adobe
yes.
Stock.
So I would just repeat all this again, open media gallery and
so.
then stock panel and then logout instead of here, probably like so.
Yeah, pretty much. Because you're guaranteed that the before actions have already executed, so you're guaranteed that you're signed into Adobe IMS.
Right, yep.
And so if you put signing out of Adobe IMS in the test content rather than in the after, then we risk remaining logged into Adobe IMS if the test fails, which I think there's a good chance that tests will fail since that's kind of the point.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Okay, yep. Got it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And another issue which I had is in the stock panel. Let me just reload this. It's a bug, a UI bug, but I'm not sure if it's intended by any chance. Just a second. Yep, so there's enough padding here for relevance, but then if I go to undiscovered, then you can see that the text is overflowing into the button. I've created an issue for it, but I'm not sure if it's intended. So what do we do for this one?
So actually, I see that the styles for sorting differently. I don't see the gray box around the arrow. For me, it's
Yes,
white.
that was actually intended by someone. Someone has put border none. So when you remove that and this padding, then it fixes. There's no more that bug present. So whoever added this may have put it for some reason. So I wasn't sure if it was intended.
And can I share my screen and show you my what I see
Yep.
actually for sorting?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes, so here is how it looks like for me. So probably not just extending the problem could be not exactly extending the lens or adding more space to certain option, but removing that border and just changing styles of how sorting is displayed in your browser
Yep.
as well. So it looks like the CSS is not covering all the browsers.
Okay. Yep. So I guess we could
Can I know
solve
the
that.
browser?
Sorry?
Can I know the which browser are you using? Which browser are you using? As I also saw this issue on, I think, Gerath. I just recently, as he demoed the request, I also saw the same issue on Gerath's browser. So I think it might be some browser related issue.
Okay, I'm using Chromium for the MFTF
Chromium.
test and everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it might be related to that because as in the Chrome where we don't get any issue, so it might be that browser related issue, I guess, because I just noticed the same thing in the Gerath's demo.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just check the in Firefox. Just a second, guys.
Okay, we can actually test it offline and identify. Maybe it's not the only one browser that is affected.
Yep. Yeah.
But several.
So yeah, that's an issue which I found. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for creating an issue, and I see that you already started working on it.
Yep.
There was something that Ankarsh brought up in the issues around MFTS tests, and which I think is pretty important to address since we're gearing up, adding more tests and getting ready to publicize the functional tests in our builds was what Adobe Stock IMS account or Adobe IMS account to use with Stock for testing purposes. This particularly comes up when we're running the tests that rely on images being already licensed. So I think that's something we should discuss and think about and come up with ideas on how to approach, because there's a couple options I see. One is that we're given some kind of special account that allows us to license things as much as we want. And I know there are costs associated with that. So I don't know if that's prohibitive or not. The other option is to have an Adobe IMS account that has very specific images pre-licensed, and that is then hard-coded or built into our test suite so that our tests know when to expect or which images to look for to find the ones that are for example, licensed but not saved, et cetera, covering all the various use cases for all the various stories we have listed out. I don't think it's something that we have figured out, and I'm not sure if maybe Christopher has experience with other integrations that would need similar kinds of needs around accounts for automated testing or not.
Well, I mean, at Stock we use our staging environment, which is not linked to any payment, but that's internal to Adobe, so you wouldn't be able to access that. I mean, I think other customers just use static data because, I mean, I have a lot of partners and customers using the API, and they don't generally go over their quota that we give them. So I'm guessing that they just, they just call the same images over and over again that have already been previously licensed. If you call to an image and it's already licensed, it should not relicense it unless you specifically tell it to. So there should be no problem there. So I would just say, decide what account and what images are going to be licensed. Now, what we could do. Well, I'm trying to think. We could have a separate account just for automation. And I'm not sure how we would. I mean, ideally it would stay fixed, so you would always get back the same results. But then that means that developers shouldn't be using it. Ideally, they can't use it because they don't have credentials to it. But I'm not sure how that would work on your side. So if you guys want to think about that, it could just be a gentleman's honor or lady's honor sort of thing, not to use it. But yeah, I mean, basically on our side, it could be two different profiles. One profile that developers can use as a sandbox, and one that we sort of lock down where you license and have it in a certain state, that will always stay the same.
Yeah, I think the latter option you described is probably the one we'd go for.
Yeah.
So it's just, I guess, something for the group to think about.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, the payout is turned off on this account. So when you license stuff, no one actually is getting paid. So that's good for development. Of course, it also means that if you use that image somewhere other than in this environment, we could all get sued. So don't don't download and put it on a blog or something. But
you bet. Okay, I think that gives us an answer. We'll have a lockdown account with very specific state, maybe just 1 or 2 or 3 or however many we need images pre-licensed. And of course, these credentials would not be shared with anyone. They'd be stored ideally in a secret, secure place, and only the testing infrastructure would access it, and they would not be exposed. I think that's the ideal setup.
We already have some such repositories where we store credentials for the testing infrastructure, but this repository is internal and it's not publicly, not accessible for public, only for our Jenkins builds. So for example, if you want to run this test suite on your local machine, you probably won't have access to it. That's the limitation.
Right.
But at least such credentials are not exposed to any public infrastructure.
So the tests can run through GitHub, but you can't run them locally. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Oh. Yep. Well, in any case, Phil, let me know. We can talk offline about setting up another profile for this. Just give me whatever specifications you need.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adarsh, for your demonstration.
I saw Adarsh moving, but I didn't hear anything.
Right, sorry. Yep, I muted my mic. Yeah, anyways, so for a specific MFTF test, I would need a new image every time. Is there a way to get a random image every time? Because I'll need to relicense it for each test. So how would we solve that?
That might be problematic.
Why would you want to do that? What's
the test is to see if the user can license an image. So once you license it, the second test, probably 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, will fail because you cannot relicense it.
I don't know if that's a necessary in a real world situation. I mean, if you can, a user, I mean, all that would test is whether they have additional quota or not. But essentially, all the licensing APIs rely on they all sort of have the same workflow behind the scenes. If you've previously licensed an image, you should be able to call and license it again. You could relicense it, but then that uses another credit. But you should be able to always access that item that's been licensed to you. I don't know if we even run internal tests where we license in images randomly. I mean, I would expect if you license, if the image has been licensed once, and you go to and you run the license again, if you run license on it, it should just say you've already licensed this image, but it should succeed. If it fails, then it means that somehow the credentials have become corrupt, or it's not in a good state, or you've sent it a malformed request or something like that. I would think that should be sufficient in this case, just to run it a second time, or get a download URL. A download URL will prove that you have a license to this asset.
But what this test will also do is check the button text, because once you license it, that button text will change from save and license, license and save, to save. So once we license an image, that image thumbnail preview will have a save and not license and save. So the license call won't be made again. Yep. So it's a functional issue.
It's a good case. Maybe I can, if we can, I could ask my UI, my QE colleagues how we test these scenarios for stock, since we have the same thing. Whether we do that by relicensing new images, or if we just have some other mock test that we use that simulates the unlicensed state.
Also, I would suggest to cover such scenarios not by functional test, but by integration, because in this case we can use the mock data instead of real data, and we don't need to care about accounts, don't need to care how to realize like may license again or license the image, so we just will provide any data which we need. Yeah, we can't cover by integration test the whole scenario, but at least we can understand actually how our service contracts works, and like we can provide the expected data without real data usage.
Yeah, I mean, on our side, we only use unit tests for very limited. When it comes to things that use APIs, we really only rely on integration tests. The unit tests are just pretty basic to make sure that you're throwing an error or something like that, but they don't actually interact with any other service, and then we use the integration tests for that. But this is still a good point. How do you deal with the situation where you're in one UI state and you want to change to the other? If you still have an integration test for that, you'd want to have a state for both, the unlicensed state and the licensed state. And I suppose, I think mock data would probably work better there if you could get back
For such thing, I think there could be some kind of hybrid when we can use the functional test, but they will call not like the real service contract, but the mocked service contracts, which will always return the same set of data. In this case, we don't need to make the network communication to Adobe Stock API, and all the data will be stored locally for test suite. It's a complicated solution to implement, but it will be stable and predicted.
That sounds good. And I mean, I'm working on a similar exercise. I use in my integration tests. I have some tests that rely on static data to always get back consistent results, and then another API that I call that actually, gets real data, but I have a feeling we may need a mix and match, like you suggest. That might be the best solution.
Yeah, we actually thought about implementing the stub that will replace the SDK for our module for testing, like to prevent communication to direct Adobe Stock API, and run tests on mocked data. But that's something that we just don't have right now, and I'm not sure where we will be able to implement it. We discussed it with Alex Kurko before, I believe. There is actually a task on our in our backlog.
Yes, I just wanted to ask it. I know that we have this issue. So just yes, Adobe Stock's SDK stub. Yes, test module.
And yeah, so basically there two stubs are considered to be implemented. The first one is SDK, the second one is AMS. Probably AMS is more important than SDK. But actually, the licensing is done through SDK. We can still use an account, a test account for logging into IMS and logging out, but it's much more harder to organize licensing images. So probably the stub for SDK is more interesting for us at this point.
Yeah, I also think that this is a good idea. Sorry if I interrupt you. Just because in general, we just make a call to the Adobe Stock service. So we just can create our mixins or not mixins, but we can just create our stub, yes, and based on already existed response. And this will cover a lot of cases, and you will not be dependent on a network connection, as Evgeny says. So I think that this is a really good idea, and also we can use it in our integration phase for future. So this sounds like a really good idea to have this functionality. And yes, we can cover connection to the Adobe SDK with another pool of tests. So just those tests will cover our connection to the Adobe Stock service, and another pool of tests will cover just functionality. Also, this will indicate that in Adobe Stock we have some changes. So, for example, like this, something happened in Adobe Stock Service API, yes, but we will check it with our stub services. So this is one more plus to guarantee that our integration will be safe and protected from any outside changes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, guys, we have actually so exceeded our time for meeting. I still have two very important things to show you. Actually, we have implemented. So Nazar implemented the gallery story that is pointing the Adobe Stock Integration grid to specific gallery on Adobe Stock site to the curated collection. And here, yeah, 1 second. Let me drop the filter. So the collection is shown until the admin user is entering anything to the search field. So even applying different filters. Yeah, here is the collection. It contains only 347 image records. So when applying filters or sorting, you're still inside sorting or filtering the collection, but after providing any search query, the collection ID filter is dropped and all images are available for searching. Also, the gallery filter is not applied to requests for related images like series and model images. Because requests for those images are done without any search request as well. And one more important improvement by Sergey Zhovner. He have implemented saving the licensed, the functionality to save the image that was already licensed on Adobe Stock site. So right now, when the image is licensed on Adobe Stock, instead of having license and save button, you'll see just save button and no additional dialogues to confirm the licensing. The image will be saved straight to the gallery after clicking the save button. I think that's it for the function for the implemented functionality. Have I missed anything?
Hi, Sergey. For the previous functionality which you explained, when you click save, shouldn't it ask for the file name and not directly save?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I meant no confirmation.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So save should ask for the file name when you are saving, right? But it should not ask if there is a preview saved before.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
Two cases here. Yeah. So we are completing the feature development. Actually, the code freeze for feature development on the project is this Friday. Then we'll start testing the implementation and stabilizing it. That's why we also need all the MFTF tests in place, because they will help us to spend less time on testing or actually have more time for manual testing of other scenarios, more detailed scenarios. So yeah, after so we can expect more bugs, more discovered bugs coming to the ready for development column at the end of this week and starting from the next week. So watch for new bugs coming. And we'll be thankful if you will also participate in this period, testing the functionality on your sites. You see, every environment is different, every browser is different. So your input is very important for us. And finally, I would like to say that we have enabled tests on the pull request, but as you may have noticed, some tests are failing. Not all of the tests are green at the moment. So it's static tests that actually have been fixed recently. They were failing because of the infrastructure problem. And integration tests. There is one fail that is currently fixed, that is currently being fixed. I mean, the issue is in progress, so we could expect green tests soon. And after that, there is one build that is not enabled on the repository and is not run on pull request. That is functional tests. Right now, I think Phil is working to stabilize the functional tests, and after that will be done, we'll add the latest build to run on each pull request. That's it from my side. Guys, do you have any other questions or comments to include in today's meeting? Great. Then thank you everybody for participation, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.